The Future of Housing was an event held during Bristol's Big Green Week at Hamilton House in Bristol. And the idea was to look at whether it's possible to produce a step change in housing provision, a disruptive change, if you like, or a quantum leap through community energy. We even had protesters standing outside. That shows we must have been getting somewhere. This is the first time I've found myself as the bad guy, but maybe that's no bad thing. And sort of the starting point was looking at successes in co-housing. These are pictures of the Lilac community in Leeds, low impact living, affordable community, which is built using mod cell, modular straw bale buildings, and there's half a dozen buildings on the site, which are shared between 20 families. This is some of them, and they're on a lovely site with productive gardens, that's to say allotments that they have and they share with the neighbours. And here's a little bit of context. Why is co-housing of interest? Because it's a way of getting housing cheaper than the property market. Why is the property market so expensive? Because a huge amount of money is laundered through the UK's property market every year, which pumps up the prices. It creates a bubble market. Is it possible to do anything about it? We hope that a new mayor in Bristol is going to produce change. So he's already stopped auctioning off land and council houses and is planning to build 2,000 homes a year. So the council, when it came in, talked to the community and asked what it could do, and the Community Land Trust set up an event about a month after ours, scaling up community-led housing in Bristol. And we were bringing along to that a vision of a new model for sustainable development, developed by the CNC group in Hamilton House. The bottom line is we want everyone to have access to an affordable and sustainable home. What that means is truly affordable. And the question is, how do you deliver that? And it's a good question. How do we get affordable housing? In the past, affordable housing has come through councils, it's come through housing associations. These are both gone through a succession of government actions. We've sold off council housing, and we're now selling off ordinary homes. We're selling off housing association housing, and what we're left is developer housing and co-housing. And there is a difference. The average cost of a home, a private home in Bristol, is close to $250,000, and certainly probably at that point by now. London, it's 4 times that. At Lilac in Leeds, the average cost is $130,000, and that's not just because they're in the north. This is 30% off market prices in Leeds. So something's happened to make that possible. An energy cost different too. An ordinary home, average home in the UK, £1,350 a year energy bill, mixture of electricity and gas. At Leeds, in Lilac, just £150 a year because the homes are super insulated and they've got solar panels and the rest. So that's quite a difference, and I guess the question is, where would you rather live? Posing this question to an audience, the point is, if you're not interested in co-housing, you really don't need to listen to the rest of this presentation, because this is about how to make it possible, what makes it feasible. But if you are interested, then the question is, how do we get from here to there? Looking at the costs, developer-led housing has 3 main elements in it. There's the cost of the land, which a council sells at best value. This is an auction to developers normally. And the developer is looking to think, how much can I pay for this land? What's the most I can sell the houses for? That results in a bid for the land, then the builder builds it out and developers taking costs and margins. What's the difference with community-led housing? The difference is, actually there's three different mechanisms here. Community land trusts typically are buying land and not all of the cost of the land is factored into the cost of the housing. The land trust can be the council itself, so the council can be saying, I'm simply not going to sell the land. We're going to lease it at a ground rent, and then the cost of land isn't factored into the build cost. It comes as a ground rent later on. Self-build, custom-build homes, people put in sweat equity to make the homes cheaper. And in a co-housing community, the community itself is the developer. It's putting in labour to be the developer, and it's creating shared facilities, so you're getting benefits in two different ways. Net result, reduced house prices. Can we develop an integrated approach to this? I want to suggest an analogy from the early days of computers and microcomputers. When the first microcomputers arrived, the application that you had on it was word processing. It only do one thing essentially, unless you could program it in BASIC. But other applications came along, spreadsheets and databases. Actually, all of these were on different machines and they're incompatible. That's a problem. Was there a solution? Yes. Along came an integrated approach. You bought Microsoft Office, it got all three programs for the price of one, plus two more for free. Presentation graphics, PowerPoint, and a web browser and email too. Great, all for the price of one, all working together because behind it there's an operating system that makes it all work together in a unified way. And this was cross-platform, it would work on a PC or a Mac. Lovely. So let's bring that back to what we want to do with communities. We need to put all these three together so that we can reduce house prices as much as possible. But also we want to bring in the ability to design, to plan and finance, and bring in the right materials. In my diagram, what you're creating is a community-led housing enabler who's helping reduce house costs and energy costs by bringing all these together in a room. They're working with a community group, and by the time that community's got its own co-housing community, it can help other communities. In the analogy, you'd also need an operating system and some hardware, and the hardware actually means that the group can be working together all in one place. We're working out of a community building, a converted office building. That's a community hub in Stokescroft in Bristol. And we have an operating system. We've got a group who run the building called Coexist, which stands for Centre of Excellence in Sustainable Technology. And it is an operating system for the building. But now there's an operating system coming along for communities and innovation. That's a sort of 2.0. And this is Theory U, U Labs from MIT and Otto Sharma. This is a massive online course. It's been run twice and the third iteration is just coming up. The idea is to bring people together, setting aside judgment, criticism and doubt, and looking at what we actually want to create, crystallizing ideas and prototyping them. We have our own names for bringing people together, which is holding a space, crystallizing ideas, going for coffee and laying down markers. And to let go of preconceived ideas and all that we call doing the work. But ULabs has processes for all of this and a lot more. And there's an introduction coming online from August the 15th, and ULabs is running as a course from September the 15th, that's 2016. After that, I'm sure it will be freely available everywhere. So we have our own way of crystallizing a vision. 6 years ago, we held an event at a green capital think tank event to look at whether you could create a zero carbon city. the idea would be that you would bring together a city and its bioregion. You'd capture carbon through agroforestry in the bioregion, and you would grow food around the city and bring it to the city. Grow food in the city as well. We had some great speakers, specifically from Zero Carbon Britain, the Centre for Alternative Technology, explaining a vision for decarbonising the whole UK, and the World Future Council with their regenerative cities model, which shows a progression. We've gone from a sort of rural idyll of city-states fed by agrarian hinterlands through to a messy petrol carbon-emitting economy, and through to can we develop a much more integrated renewable economy with 100% renewable energy and better for our cities. Our own version of this was looking at a rural college site at Seal Hayne that was being sold off, and our idea was to redevelop it as a centre of excellence in sustainable communities. We didn't get that site, but it did coexist in Bristol in this building here. So we developed an urban hub for sustainable communities, and we developed some urban housing, code level 4 apartments, 18 code level 4 apartments that we used as social housing. And we found when you put ex-offenders in beautiful apartments that are low running cost, offending rates go down dramatically, re-offending rates go down dramatically. This is a very interesting social experiment in itself. So I've already shown you Lilac. This was an early version of mod cell in a co-housing community. In Bristol, we ran a trial in St Bernard's Road. This does not look like straw bale homes, but behind the brick facades, there's real straw bales. That's a mod cell panel that is behind the bricks. And this was a commercial trial, and we found that all the tests have been done. These mod cell panels qualify for high street mortgages. People were very happy to buy these homes. 400 people showed interest in these 7 terrace homes. They sold on the first day they were shown. And they're carbon capture materials. This is showing a research house at Bath University made with mod cell, and the point is that the homes themselves, as they're being built, are capturing carbon. There isn't emissions from putting in the bricks and the concrete and so on, of course, from the glass and maybe other things, but overall you're sequestering carbon as you build one of these homes, and the amount you're sequestering is equivalent to 45 years of a 2 kilowatt array. Looking at affordability, we have a model, I put it in quotes. What is affordable? The definition is that it's 20% off open market value, and developers are supposed to make 30% of the homes in a development, quote unquote, affordable. This still means not affordable to most people. What affordable used to mean was less than 3 times income. And what does that mean? On an average income of 30k, affordable is £90,000. On a living wage of 15k, £45,000. This is way less than market incomes. So how do we get there? How do we reduce house prices? What is affordable? If we actually look at just the build costs, then a 600 square foot apartment, 10 square meters, we can build this week with mod cell for 90,000, affordable on average income. All we've got to do is get land at zero cost. Similarly, an evolution as we get the cost down on mod cell would be a 35 square metre apartment at £1,200 a square metre £42,000, that's less than 3 times living wage. So this is definitely doable, even if we're not doing it at the moment. Another example, this is from T Solar, I think in Wales. The name certainly implies that. A 3-bedroom home built at £1,000 a square metre using wood and warm cell, that's chopped straw insulation. Fantastic. There are other approaches. Are there other approaches? Yes, of course. What's affordable? Here's another example. Shipping container homes. These can be built very easily at low costs out of standard shipping containers, and this is being done in lots of places. These are beautiful homes, actually. Some of them aren't beautiful, but this is incredible creativity and variety using a very standardized form. It shows what humans can do with a little imagination, and this is what we should be doing everywhere. Lightening up, not just building Lego ticky-tacky homes. And to just take it one stage further, this too is affordable. These are IKEA refugee homes. These cost £1,000 each. A tent maybe costs less, but this lasts 6 times as long as a tent, and it's bigger and it's better. For £1,000 you could have a home. I think a lot of students would rather buy one of these at the beginning of their 3 years and live in it than be paying £500 a month for 3 years and ending up with a debt. Thank you, IKEA. I don't want to live in a refugee camp. I'm sure nobody wants to live in a refugee camp. But if we have to have refugee camps, let's have great education and the best homes we can put in them. So that's some thoughts on affordability. And the question is, how do you bootstrap this? Tesla have a great example. First of all, they built an expensive sports car, which allowed them to do their R&D without trying to build a huge volume of cars and get everything wrong at first. So the idea is you start off with maybe higher cost, you're trying to get your cost down, and you're building in small volumes. And then you get your cost down and you build in larger volumes, and then you get your cost right down and you're building in big volumes. Pretty simple. So that gives you an approach. And just a couple of great examples of building luxury homes, this sort of sports car model. These homes are easily sold for rather more than they cost to build. People snap these up because they're so lovely. And here's a fantastic example from Spain of people building luxury penthouse apartments. Luxury penthouse apartments built in a workshop, built in a warehouse, and built in just 8 weeks. Incredibly strong, built on a steel frame, and lifted onto the top of blocks in Barcelona that haven't been built as high as they can be. And the penthouse, of course, is the highest value house in the building. There's enough profit in this to put a lift in, to improve the house and everything. So this is in 8 weeks. These apartments are finished in the factory, and then they're lifted on the roof and turned into beautiful luxury penthouse apartments that sell at a great profit. It's just a month from lifting it onto the roof before it's ready. So this is 3 months from starting until the big party. So this is 2 great examples of how to start off with luxury housing and then move on to truly affordable housing. It gets you through the learning curve. So start out is low volume, high margin. Start up, medium volume developments, cheaper build, higher volume, and then scaling up, having got the build costs fully under control. Communities learning how to do this everywhere. Here's a couple of sites where we can start to do this. This is a site owned by Connolly and Callaghan, the west end of Bristol, in Avonmouth, Ermine Way. And the idea is, I'm going to explain this in a moment, to build a mixture of affordable and open market homes, and it would lead into doing other developments in the same area. Similarly, in Frome, there's a site where we're applying for planning permission on a rather formal, standard, perhaps not exciting design, but maybe we can improve on that and then use it as a base to redevelop for Frome people living in a co-housing community, to redevelop other parts of Frome and beyond. Here's an example of something already happening down in Cornwall. Igloo Regeneration have got half a dozen home builders with kind of a catalogue of house types, so people can go in and choose which builder they want, which house type they want, and then custom build their dream home. The sites are ready, a shell's put up, and you can either have it completely finished or you can finish it yourself. So this shows what's possible. This one's already happening. So what do the stages of a project look like? My idea here is you have the first contact with the community, and perhaps as quickly as possible you show what can be done on a site. You take that to the planners, something that the planners wouldn't find weird or contentious. Planners are very conservative, but at the same time you're working with the community to figure out what's their vision, what do they really want, and you prepare a prospectus like the Red Book that we prepared for Seal Hayne, and you've got the whole community coming together around that, and you end up going for the plan that you really want. So this obviously gets developed. You can turn this into running a bunch of projects, and this is where your financial planners come in and your business planning comes in, because you've got a bunch of different functions that your group is doing, designing, engaging with the community, the materials have to be built, you're looking after energy, and you're actually building the site, and money is raised and then comes in at different stages in these projects. So you can build a spreadsheet that will look a little bit like this, with numbers instead of colours. And just to show how this works, with both the sites that I've shown earlier, Ermine Way and Vallis Road in Frome, the land's already been bought. There is a cost of land to be dealt with and paid for in the homes. So how can you demonstrate truly affordable homes? Well, some of the homes can be built at a genuine open market price, coming in and making a profit. Then you build a group of fairly affordable homes, which might be a team of people who are coming in to learn how they did this and ready to help others, some supported social housing, group of energy experts. And as well, you build some truly affordable homes in which the cost of the land has been factored out, paid for by the open market homes. So what would happen if you'd already got the land, if your accounts on you've got the land? Then here you've already got the land for free. And so you can build more truly affordable homes. What I'd like to show you here is, so we've got a company who's already a shelter housing provider. It's the old business model, and we want to introduce this company to a new business model, which is building sustainable communities. And at first it's not very obvious to the company that sustainable communities is going to make a great replacement for shelter housing, but we do know that having lots of homeless people in a housing bubble is unsustainable, and there's no intention to run this forever. We want everybody to be living in great communities with affordable homes. So the question is, are we clear yet? And it's hoped that this model here is going to show that. And if so, is it time for action? And as Gandhi said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. The fact that we actually have a protest group standing outside the event where we're describing this approach and saying that what we're doing is exploiting homeless people suggests that we're being laughed at or fought at the moment. Let's hope that we are clear now and that we can start to move more energetically to develop this sustainable building model. And it doesn't need for sustainable communities to be built straight away. The big issue has been running a crusade for some time, saying that there's loads of empty houses and that councils could use these to house homeless people. And I think that makes complete sense. And indeed, the big issue have also been talking about building tiny homes and container homes. So this is from the latest version of the big issue. Some great examples. So there's lots and lots of people with really great ideas, and we all need to be doing everything together at the same time, eliminating the need for homeless housing by using up empty homes and working on community-led housing. And maybe the time's right for this. We're just about to have the Rio Summer Olympics, but the last big event in Rio that most people remember was the Earth Summit in 1992, which proposed the idea that we've got to look after the environment, not just go all out for economic development. And we've also got these three overlapping circles: social, environment, economic, and this is the Rio Earth Summit Agenda 21 model. But the problem with this is there's inevitably trade-offs. It's quite hard to hit the centre and tick all three buttons. So, for instance, council houses may not be very environmental. The price may be right. Certainly it's affordable. Social, well, who knows, living in a concrete jungle, maybe not. Housing associations, maybe not very environmental. Not so economic, actually. These are houses that they're buying off developers as quote-unquote affordable housing, but a lot of people living in housing associations are actually in a benefits trap. And developer-led housing, not environmental, not social. Economic, I've put question mark and exclamation mark. It's great for developers and councils, rubbish for people living in them. Have we moved on? Not everything has changed, but we've recently had the COP21 meeting in Paris, and we are beginning to see that social, economic and environmental overlap completely. So community-led housing can be, there isn't a trade-off, there isn't a compromise. We can do something, we can live in a community, it can be affordable, and it can be carbon capture. We're going to find out the same is true of energy and workplaces too. We create jobs that are livelihoods in these places. This is the shift. That's possible. It's 20, 30 years, we've moved massively on, we've figured things out, we're getting the prices down. We should just be getting on with it. Is there more to say? Well, yeah. Since Brexit, there is an urgent need. We are at the bottom of the wage growth league. I think that means that wages are going down in this country as opposed to going up. And house prices going up. So wages are going down, house prices going up. This makes houses less and less affordable. Something has to be done. And it's us that get to do it. I could talk about a whole lot more. Job creation, finance, economy, all of these things. The main point I've tried to get across here from these events and from the research we've been doing for the last few years is that it's possible to shift from unsustainable ways of building to highly sustainable, carbon capture, affordable homes, and we could just be getting on with it. A lot of people have helped develop these ideas, and I'm probably not even naming all of them here. I've just tried to remember as many as I could. Thanks for listening, and these are the credits. If you want to get involved, join a community land trust or a co-housing group, sign up for a self-build register. If you like, you can contact me with the details here. And I'd like to especially thank Sustain Britain, which is part of the CNC group, for funding the research here. If this is on the web, then you'll be able to find more information below, and this is just a draft. There'll be more and more. If you look up Zero Carbon Bristol's channel, you'll see a more updated version of this slideshow.